Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. In a recent video, I talked about the plans of President Donald Trump to reduce the presence of the US military in Germany and move maybe part of these troops that are now stationed in Germany to Poland, for example. And I became aware while I was browsing through some comments under that video that there are some misconceptions among the people who commented there and who watched my video. Some people have apparently some illusions or some false ideas about why these troops are in Germany to begin with, and I want to address this misinformation in the video today. So, just a quick reminder, there are about 34,000 US troops stationed in Germany, Stuttgart headquarter, Ramstein airport, and all that stuff, right? Military hospitals, drones, and so on. So the plan is to move 9,000 away, and that would leave then 25,000 still. Okay, so and then a lot of people said that Germany owes us for security, and Germany is not doing its part. So now you can see how you defend yourself against insert threat of your taste, of your liking. Most of them said Russia, but now you can see how you defend yourself against them without our help, etc. So I want to address this, and I want to start from the most obvious and then going to stuff that is maybe a bit more controversial. But let's start with the obvious stuff first. So first of all, I said that this plan entails moving troops around in Europe. It doesn't mean reducing troops in Europe, and that might be happening at the same time. I didn't read about that. I'm not sure if that is true, but the US moves troops around the globe all the time. So I don't know if there is a substantial move now to reduce the troops in Europe. And this is what counts. How many troops are in Germany in particular is not really relevant here. Because if Russia attacked Europe, then troops in Poland would protect us just as well. Or might I say even better, because the fighting would take place in Poland then and not in Germany. All right, that's the first point. Moving troops out of Germany doesn't reduce the degree of protection that we enjoy from the side of the United States, as long as there is still the same amount of troops in Europe and especially to our east. Okay, that's the first point. And then the second point is, what do you think are these troops doing in Europe? Why are they there? Are they training for defending the continent against a attack from the east or something? Are they equipped to do that? Are they training for that? Are they intended to be this kind of military operation? No, of course not. If you look at what they're doing, they are coordinating US military operations throughout the Mediterranean, in Africa, in the Levant, in everywhere. Yeah. So these are not troops that are meant to defend Europe. These are troops meant to strike in our vicinity based from Europe. Okay. These are forward positions for the United States operations. And as I said, if some person is wounded somewhere, it is just much easier to fly them to a military hospital in Germany and not fly them back to the United States. Yeah, it's just closer. And also a lot of drone strikes I read are actually carried out from Germany. Yes. And how does that protect Germany? How does that protect Europe? How does that defend us? I don't think it does. Yeah. So taking out Gaddafi, for example, yeah, has that made Germany safer? I don't think so. Or the mess they created in the Middle East, yeah, and at the Hindu Kush, has that made Europe safer? Has that made Germany safer? Was that done to protect us? No, I don't think it was. I don't even think it is in the best interest of the United States that these things have been done. I think it is to the detriment, or it is a huge disadvantage for the American people that these military operations have been done. So if you are a fan of Barack Obama, of Joe Biden, of Hillary Clinton, or of George W. Bush, or of Dick Cheney, of Donald Rumsfeld, yeah, then maybe you think that this was great. But I hope that people like that are not really fans of mine, or well, I shouldn't say fans, or subscribers, listeners, whatever. I thought that I am addressing a different audience here and not neocons, because a lot of the comments that I read sounded like neocons, that yeah, the US is defending Europe, and the war in the Middle East makes Europe and the West safer, and this is for democracy, blah de blah, right? No, it doesn't. It creates exactly the people that are coming now to Europe to do harm here, to cause trouble, to commit crimes, and they are very dangerous. And they have been created, and they have been the barriers that stood in their way before, like in the case of Gaddafi, they were taken down so that they can freely move into Europe and commit atrocities and violence there, right? This is not making anybody safer here. This is doing the opposite, okay? So, um, yeah, just think about that for a minute before and I really don't know where you heard that. Have you heard that on CNN? Have you heard that on Fox News? I mean, who's spreading that stuff, that these troops would defend Europe or protect Europe? Of course you can say that when Germany, a country that because we lost 2 wars in the 20th century, and we are a proud military nation, but the people that we lost the war against, they forced us to have a small military. They forced us to not have a very powerful military. And now, when they want to use us as a mercenary force, all of a sudden, we should have a big military again. Yeah, when they brainwashed us for decades before and re-educated us to be anti-militaristic and to see our martial past as something negative. And now, when we should be like mercenaries fighting for their causes, not for ours, right? Then all of a sudden, they want us to remilitarize as fast as possible and spend large amounts of money on our military that we use not for our own purposes but for theirs. Yeah. So just think about that for a little bit, and please let me know in the comments down below who in the United States claims that the US military is somehow defending Germany. And as I said, yeah, being in NATO, yeah, that gives us, some sort of protection. But NATO isn't the United States. Of course, the United States is the biggest part of it, sure, but it is not like the US tries to protect us here. And not everything the US does in Germany or based from Germany is done as a NATO operation, for example, or with the original goal of NATO in mind. All right. And now I go to the a little more yeah, controversial aspect maybe. Um, but if you think that NATO or the occupying forces after World War II, if you think that they were there to protect Germany against the East, against the Soviet Union, then you are sorely misinformed. So first of all, the West tried to, yeah, contain the spread of communism, yeah, and therefore they had to be there in the first place. Yeah, that was not done to protect Germans, but just to contain communism. And now, what would have happened? What was the plan of action if an attack were to occur? The plan of action was, and you can look this up, that Germany was supposed to be incinerated by nuclear fire within the first couple of minutes, I would say. Yeah? How is that protecting German people when you plan to wipe them out in a giant strike within the first couple of minutes? Or when the fighting is, which it inevitably would be, lost on the continent, because the Western land armies wouldn't have stood a chance against the Soviet army. So the plan was to nuke them. Yeah, that's simply the plan. Was that protection now? Should we feel protected now that the NATO plan was to just blow up Germany? Yeah, so I don't know how this narrative can still float around unchallenged, but it is not true. They were never there to protect the German people. They're not here now to protect the German people. Um, as I said, they're in forward operation space. Yeah, that is just more convenient because it's in closer proximity to their targets that they have at the moment. And once again, if you think that what Hillary Clinton did was a great job, if you think that Obama did a great job in his foreign policy, if you think that George W. Bush was a great guy, yeah, sure, then you can still, in a coherent way, spread this narrative. But if not, then I think you have some thinking to do. I catch you guys again later. Servus, Kameraden.